Thank you for watching Conscious Consumer Network. The live stream broadcast is free to view. You can pause and rewind live broadcasts to catch up, or view shows at a later date by accessing our free archives of all shows. Check out our broadcast guide to see what's on. You can show your support by donating to our network support fund. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or subscribe to the monthly newsletter for updates. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Stop South African Genocide live here on Conscious Consumer Network. It is great, as always, to be with you again, and we have an interesting hour for you coming up. And just before we get started, I would like to welcome my gracious and amazing co-host, Karin Smith. Thank you for being with us, Karin. And of course, our guest tonight is joining us for the fourth edition of his participation on Conscious Consumer Network. Schalk from the Merwe, thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you very much. It's my privilege.
Okay, well, we've had an interesting week going on. So as much as, I know Karin and I are dying to pluck out the history from Schalk's amazing knowledge, we kind of have a lot of topical stuff to cover, particularly since we've just had Black Friday occurring yesterday and many things happening in the socio-political arena in South Africa. So I think let's just jump into it. We've only got an hour to really unpack this bag. I'd love to get an understanding of what's going on the ground down there.
Yes. Hi, Schalk. Lovely to have you with us again. Best that you report on this because you are on the ground. You're there. I'd like you to start with a lead up to why Black Monday happened.
Okay, let's take a look just back at what farm murders are in South Africa. Why is it a potential political tool for many players to play? After 94 and the whole issue of land, the claim that the white people supposedly stole land from black people. There's always the political drive about how to now reimburse the people that were supposedly robbed from their land, the restitution process, etc., etc. It was highly publicized in South Africa. The whole notion of white people stealing land, etc., etc. At the back of that, you also had a huge crime wave in South Africa, and I think the two led hand in hand to what is now called farm murders, where usually black youths in sometimes small numbers, sometimes in very good numbers, would go into a farm, and they would basically kill and rape the farm owners, which are for the most part white people, in the most horrendous ways. Really terrible ways. You can see it. The object of it all is definitely to create as much terror as possible. It's a terror weapon. It's a terror tactics that's being used. People burned alive and with irons, hot irons and hot oil is thrown onto them. And there's rape and there's murder and there's mayhem. People being cut up. Their livestock slaughtered and left to die in the veld. It's horrible scenes. Every one of these farm murders are horrible scenes. It's not the so-called ordinary crime that we are made to believe that this is. It's not ordinary crime. It's torturing and killing in the most horrendous ways. And through the years, it has become known as farm murders, but it's much wider than only farms. South Africa, you have quite large commercial farms, and then you have smaller farms where farmers would still farm commercially. Then you would have smaller units called plots, and then even in the cities, you find, of course, a lot of white people. And the trend of murders is not only on farms. The same modus operandi is used in murders even in town. But through the years, it has become now the synonym being used for what is going on here, or the collective word maybe, is farm murders. Literally meaning black people going out on white farms and basically killing the farm owners and stealing and robbing and just causing the total mayhem there. What led up to the specific incident or the specific event of Black Monday There was a murder last week of a young farmer, Conradi, in the Klapmuts area, that's in the Western Cape. Now, the Western Cape is not known for many farm murders, and I think it shocked that community into realizing what we up here north, it's a daily occurrence. And all of a sudden, you had a huge outcry in the media even, and amongst the other farmers and the farming community, and even civil society started crying out about this specific murder, because it was one of those horrendous one where you see the windows being broken open. You saw the blood on the walls, literally the blood on the walls and the blood on the floor, and it was just a horrible thing to see on photographs. Then there was, just after that, a media report about the son and how he tried to comfort this young son, and he tried to comfort the mother, and she was simply torn apart. You can understand that. And it caused a huge uproar amongst the white community, and I think maybe some parts of the black community also, of what is going on. Is this really farm murders? Is this what we're reading about, farm murders? Is this how it goes down? Because if that's the way it's going down, it's horrible. And I think for the first time for many, even white South Africans, it started to boil down that it's terrorism. It's nothing else than terrorism. It's like what ISIS would do and what Al-Qaeda would do. It's really acts in the magnitude of what you expect from organizations like that. That caused a farmer living close to the Conradis. He went on air on his Facebook. He recorded a little video clip, and that video clip went viral. And in the video clip, he simply asked, but can't we come together as people and just make a stand against the farm murders? And as from, I think, Thursday, Friday, we started to see a huge amount of activity on Facebook, a huge amount of activity on WhatsApp groups, specifically WhatsApp groups. Yesterday, for instance, on Black Monday, for instance, more than 17,000 SMSs, WhatsApps, SMSs, what do you call that? WhatsApps went through my WhatsApp app during the day, 17,000. Just to give you an idea of the magnitude of people speaking to one another and running with this thing. By Sunday evening, we realized we were sitting on something huge. Now, if in previous days, when you had a meeting called out or a protest march amongst the white community, maybe 200 people will turn up. If you're really lucky, maybe 300 people will turn up. But we were seeing a very strange tendency happening at that point in time, that thousands upon thousands of people were climbing onto social media. And thousands upon thousands of people were speaking to one another on WhatsApp, saying, well, Monday, we're going to mine today. A fresh shirt, not the same shirt as Monday, but we wear black clothes on Monday, and we call it Black Monday, and we mourn the deaths of our fellow compatriots. In South Africa, black is seen as a color of mourning, and of respect for the dead, and that is why black was chosen. By Sunday evening, as I said, we realized this thing is going to be tremendously big. I was up very early that morning, and I think by about 5 o'clock, the first vehicles started to arrive at certain gathering points right across South Africa. And in about hour and a half time, you saw thousands upon thousands of vehicles all over South Africa, on the highways, near farms, gathering points, and thousands of white South Africans and black South Africans. There were few black South Africans, many faces you saw on photos on social media. Indians, colored people from all walks of life, rich, poor, everybody were turning up in the streets, closed and back, protesting farm murders. And it was, in my opinion, a flash mob. It doesn't belong to any political party, organization, definitely not ourselves. We can't claim a National Conservative Party, can't claim that it's our event, because we only contributed a very small part. We were maybe the spark to this whole thing, but it ignited, and that's not us. That was the people, the folk, that actually came out in numbers, tremendous numbers, and they showed protest, and not protest burning stuff like you would have the EFF and the ANC, and destroying schools and burning down buildings and libraries and churches and cars in the street and going totally nuts. People simply being very pious and very quiet, sitting in the road praying. There's this very powerful image in the Cape where I counted it's about 400, 500 people sitting there that you can see in the photograph, all kneeling and praying together.
Yeah.
And simply blocking the roads, not causing havoc as such, but simply blocking off key roads, and it kept a lot of the traffic also of the main roads. There was this one picture. It was a friend of mine actually, Teresa, and I borrowed the pic. I must still go and say thank you very much for the borrowing of the pic. It was actually a stealing of the pic, but I used that picture to put on our Facebook wall, and it went 3,000. It was shared 3,000 times, and there's a reason why. It shows the notorious north-south route through Gauteng, the Ben Schoeman road, and it shows that on the one side everything is blocked up. So obviously there's boers and farmers standing somewhere up front, but on the other lane, the right-hand lane, there is not one vehicle to be seen. It's been blocked off 100%. Now to do that, it takes a lot of guts. No major incidents apart from the Middelburg incident. In Middelburg, a truck driver actually went into one of the barricades, and it was terrible damage there. 3 people injured there. That's the worst of the incidents that I'm aware of. I'm actually not aware of any other acts of violence during the protests countrywide. 3 people in total that I know of were arrested. 2 of them were released on 1,000 rand fines. The other one was arrested this morning. I assisted him with a bail application telephonically, and they let him out free bail. He's also now charged under the Prevention of Illegal Gatherings Act. So it's not a big charge against him. It's not a major charge. So all in all, I think it was a tremendous event. It was thousands upon thousands of people across the country, thousands of vehicles with no real violence, no breaking down of anything, and nothing what you expect of South Africa. Usually the big gathering in South Africa where there's chaos and the police have to shoot and it's water cannons and tear gas and stuff. We didn't do that because we were organized, we were very peaceful, and we kept it under the hand of God. The lasting impression of people praying. Now, how do you go and break up people praying? They're doing nothing wrong. They're sitting next to the road and praying. So what are they doing wrong? And I think that is the powerfulness of this protest. Yes, there were quite a few very agitated people saying a lot of silly things and a lot of very nice things. But the general trend amongst all the people going there was great respect for the dead, mourning for the dead, and keeping the hand of God over them, praying rather than fighting. And I think that caught everybody unawares. When last did this work in great numbers in India, where Gandhi went and through very peaceful protest, he actually defeated the British Empire. So maybe this is the route for us to go. Maybe this is going to work for us in the future. We will have to explore that.
Yes, but while that was happening, a farmer was hacked to death with a panga at the exact same time. And since then, there have been 4 or 5 more. So one has to wonder, did we, by doing this, because we, friends in the UK and myself, we all wore black yesterday. Black T-shirts with South African flags on, and in sympathy and in protest as well. And I saw the pictures from all over the world. You had them in Dubai, you had them in New Zealand, you had them in Australia, you had them in America. In America, that truck company put huge signs on the back, just up the road here in Oklahoma. I've written to thank them, just by the way. But they put huge signs on their trucks, and 6 of them that I saw drove out with these big signs on them. And that was thanks to a South African who has worked for them for 10 years. And they think hold him so highly that they did this in support. I see Brad Bradford commented, CBS News commented, it hit world news. Not so much in the USA. I haven't seen Fox News or any of those pick it up, which is amazing to me. But we finally got this story out to the world. And it amazes me, Schalk.
It's taken so many of my hours and your hours and very good people's hours to get the message out. And it's out there.
It's amazing that one murder out of all the thousands, and there are tens of thousands, one murder was the spark for this. Do you think it was the straw that broke the camel's back? Finally, enough is enough. I mean, it's always difficult to know why.
It was a couple of things. The last 3 years, especially the last year, excuse me, it's becoming outrageous. And it's not only strange and crazy politicians standing up and saying bad things about white people. Mm-hmm. It's government themselves. It's the president himself going out and making the most ludicrous things out about white people and the stealing of the land and all those things. And how we murdered black people apparently in heaps and downs. I don't know where they are. Go and show the graves to me. Go and show to me the court cases coming from that. Then I will believe you. We know, Karin, me and you and Mel sitting here, we know that it is not the truth. It is simple propaganda.
Yeah.
But the long and short is this has been a program now, a constant program running in the media and running through politics for at least past 2-3 years, continuously bombarding the white community with this. On the other side, the white community is saying, well, we've been murdered in huge numbers and in the most horrific ways, and nobody is saying anything about it. So there's this huge frustration, anger. It was lying there embedded already in the population, and you're quite right. This last one was different in one very significant way. Up to now, mainstream media has been quite quiet about the farm murders and usually attributing it to ordinary violence or ordinary crime for that matter. Just simply saying, well, it's outlying areas and it's farms, so it's a soft target, and that is why the cooks would go to those farms. They actually want to steal something, they want to steal money or firearms or weapons. They go in and incidentally they will then kill the farmer. Now we don't know, it's not how it goes down. You don't torture a person for 12 hours with irons, hot clothing irons, and burning them with hot oil and throwing them into pits and doing the most horrible things you can imagine to them for hours and hours and hours because you want to steal a cell phone or 1,000 rand or maybe even a firearm. It simply does not go down like that. Okay. But what led to the camel's back being broken was that the media all of a sudden also jumped onto the bandwagon. I think that was the spark. All of a sudden, when the Conradi farm murder took place, Media 24 started reporting it, and it was reported very widely. And that was as if it just simply caused people to pause for a moment and say, what is going on here? And then clicking, but these right-wing guys have been saying exactly the same for many years. Now mainstream media is saying. So there is a problem. And I think that was what actually stirred the average South African, the average white South African into action Monday. Even over the weekend. I think that was when they started to realize the problem is actually as big as the right-wingers are saying. That mole Schalk in the Merwe and that mole being crazy, it's an Afrikaans word. Karin sitting in the US, those molecular racists, those mad right-wingers, maybe they have a point. And maybe we must think. And I think that is what sparked this whole thing. Even mainstream media coming on song for this. And they reported widely yesterday. We were even on the news, very skewed, but we were on national television. We were in most of the bigger newspapers in the country. They are still speaking about it today. It was obviously a huge media explosion, also a media event that is very unlike it's usually done. I mean, they would rather be very silent if the so-called bad and ugly right-wingers do something. They are very, very scared of reporting those things. And this time it happened differently. They are on the bandwagon. Whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. But they are speaking it up. They are speaking. They are not denying it anymore. They are now trying to find reasons why it is good and why you can actually go and murder on a farm. But we passed the point where they say, no, there's no farm murders as such. It's only crime. We've passed that point, and it's very important to note that.
Do you think that it also had something to do with the crime statistics coming out last week? Because those were such a load of garbage. I just shook my head. I mean, you know, you get the medical profession saying that these numbers are rubbish. We treat the people. We have them in our mortuaries. We know how many murders there were. This is rubbish. You have Interpol saying, no, it's more than double that number. Do you think that that maybe had something to do with it? Don't laugh at me, Schalk.
I think it might be. I think
we're losing you.
Yeah, are you losing me?
Yeah. We lost sound for a bit there. We still got a good picture, but we didn't have sound.
Can I speak? Can you hear me still?
Yeah,
okay, but can you hear me again?
That's better. That's much better.
Okay, 100%. Yes, of course. The crime statistics come out, and we sitting here as knowledgeable people and thinking to ourselves, where did the minister get these numbers? Because the numbers are not adding up. The banking sector comes and says there's more than 570 in transitu attacks. Now what they do is on the roads, it's like in that Batman movie, one of the Batman movies where Joker goes and they literally they blow up a truck and they steal the money inside the truck. Happening daily in South Africa. It's a daily occurrence. You drive on the highway, you see a lot of blue lights. You slow down and you pass, and it was in transit to robbery. Now the banks are saying, and the banks will know it's their money.
Yeah.
The banks are saying, well, there's more than 507 of these reported. Really? That the banks would know it's their money.
Yeah.
The banks will also not lie about it. Why would they lie about it? So who's lying now? Somebody's lying. But the crime statistics, and I can't remember the number now on murders, and it's not white murders per se, but murders in South Africa. Is it something like 500 murders a day? Just help me with that one.
No, they are quietly saying it's 52 murders a day, which is absolute rubbish. We know it's rubbish, but that's what they're saying.
No, it's impossible. Since '94, and these are official stats. It's not the right winger saying this. You can go and look those stats up for yourself. There's been more than 500,000 murders in South Africa.
Yeah,
500,000 people have been murdered in South Africa. It's war.
Yeah.
In the whole Bush war, we did not even lose a tenth of that amount of people in South Africa.
Yeah.
We're actually in a more...
Losing you again, Schalk.
It was... You can hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it will come and go. You know South Africa, no?
Yeah, we know. We used it.
So yeah. But that's where we're sitting. We had the biggest flash mob in South African history, and it was mostly white guys wearing black T-shirts. Now, South Africa, I've always said, is the land of irony. What can be more ironic than what happened on Monday? Black Monday, a bunch of white guys running up and down the street. Not really, very, very organized, wearing black T-shirts. So we actually stole back now from the black people. I'm waiting for that one. It's coming. So yeah. But it's a very strange thing that happened here. But I'm feeling very, very satisfied that it did happen, and it did happen in the way that it did. There's a lot of things now in the media today about it was a racist thing and the old South African flag and what, and there's even ancient pictures of years back of a new South African flag being burned, and that being attributed to this one, which is it's total bollocks. But the long and short is, I think the regime realizes, and the liberals also realize this, they simply underestimated the might of white South Africa. We're here. You can't miss us anymore. We're here.
Yeah, and
a very long time, but we're here and we're back.
I believe that because of the success of this movement, it's not going to stop here.
No, it's not.
I really believe that for the first time, white South Africa has stood up and said enough, and that was the underlying message of all of this: enough. I love that song of Steve Bridges, Genoeg.
Genoeg is genoeg. And think for a moment what we are saying. We're saying enough is enough. Genoeg is genoeg. In other words, we gave you a chance, and we gave you another chance, and another one, and maybe a last one. But now genoeg is genoeg. And I really think we are at that point in our history as a people in South Africa, as a race in South Africa, as conservatives in South Africa. Look, there's lots of black people also saying, genoeg is nou genoeg.
Yeah.
We're fed up with the crazy ANC. We're fed up with the Guptas. We're fed up with our own people sitting in the townships in their millions, impoverished to an extent that was never even under apartheid.
Yeah.
It was never like that.
Yeah.
They are more poor now than they were ever in the existence of South Africa, and we're sitting under the ANC.
Yeah. It was very encouraging, Scott, to see the number of black people and the number of colored people who stood up in unity with you. There was one that just got to me. A black lady made a little video about it, and she said that it's not just a farmer that you're killing us. You're impacting us who work for the farmer, our children who are educated by the farmer. We are losing our jobs, etc. And then I read the most astounding figure of how many agricultural jobs have been lost this year. I was horrified.
If you take out the farm, you take out the community. Now, why do I say that? On that farm in South Africa, we tend to have big farms with lots of workers, and those workers don't drive in the morning and drive out at evenings. Sometimes you have that. But the general pattern would be that a whole family is living on the farm that's been that's part of it's a family of the farm worker. So the farm worker would be the breadwinner of that family. They are living on the land, and they're living mostly in the quarters on the farmland. So in other words, the breadwinner and the accommodation is on the farmer's farm. Now the farmer is murdered. And all of a sudden, there's not farming activity going on. Usually, the wife is also hurt or murdered, or she simply can't go on with the farming. And what happens is that farm collapses economically. And all of a sudden, you sit with 8 or 10 or 20 or 30 or how many black farm workers without work, but all of them have families.
Yeah.
And it's the end of the income of that family. On many farms, you have farm schools, which is the only schools in those areas. If the farm comes to a standstill, and the farm is usually supporting that school, sponsoring that school, if the farm comes to a standstill, the farm school also falls. So it's, we're not speaking, and I'm going to sound very liberal now, but it's not only white people being hurt with farmers, it's everybody is being hurt by farmers. The obvious next step relating to farmers is of course the production of food. If the production of food, everybody dies of hunger. There's studies, and it was studies done still under Nelson Mandela's presidency, that said South Africa is actually supposed to be a food importing country. very dry country, it's not arable, etc., etc. We must focus on other stuff and get away from the farms in South Africa. We can rather import food. And then if there's a food shortage in the world, because there's overpopulation, are they really going to come and dump it in South Africa? I don't think so. It's going to China, it's going to India. Indonesia, it's going to all other places. We're not going to have food if there's really food shortages in the world. Secondly, it places you as a country in such a poorly strategic point. During the Second World War, the Germans blockaded Britain for very long, and they basically cut off the food supply of Britain, which nearly brought them to their knees. If South Africa is sitting at the southern point of Africa, can't produce their own food, we have to import it from Europe and from America. It's not a very good idea. Theoretically, maybe, but in practice, it's going to be a very, very big issue to deal with if we ever came to that point. So there's so many things as spin-offs to this whole situation that me and you as Ryan and Sasha, it's been a very long day. As sane and rational people, we can't sit around anymore just being quiet. The sane and rational people must come out in the streets, climb into their cars, do Black Mondays all over the place, and tell everybody around them. It's not only the government that's screwing up. I don't know if I may use that word on your show. It's not only the government that's screwing up. It's everybody of us that's part of this screw up, because we are allowing them to do that. White South African, you're allowing the government to take away your rights. You are allowing the government not to care for you, not to protect you. You are allowing it. Black South Africans, for goodness sake, wake up. You're more poor now than you ever were.
Yeah.
A small class of black diamonds, they're called black diamonds because that's exactly what they are. Extremely rich beyond any means that me and you can ever acquire in our lives. But the vast majority of Black South Africans are poor, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Nobody's winning here, but for some reason, nothing is changing, and that's very strange. Because in other countries, if you have turmoil like this, or reasons for turmoil like this, you would have had a revolution long ago. It's not happening in South Africa. People are so despondent and so just simply pulled into themselves that nothing is happening. But that's very dangerous, because nothing is going to happen until some point, and then you have a Black Monday.
Yeah.
Because this is what happened. So I don't want to see a Black Monday with all the black people.
But now they're calling for their own counter Black Monday. I saw that as well, that one of the unions is calling for their countermeasure to this, because Black Monday was totally racist. Do we not understand how many blacks have been killed, and we're only standing up for farmers? You've seen it all on social media yourself, Schalk. Even you commented on this and said, this is ridiculous. The letter from the Minister of Police, that was the one of yours. I didn't know to laugh or cry about that.
That letter, he writes a letter to people that maybe protest tomorrow, and he says to them, just behave yourselves.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will crack down on you. Boo. Yeah. And I wait to do things now. But anyhow, okay, here's the thing. If black people go out to the street and they protest black people murdering black people in the township, and they say, we are now fed up, I will go to that protest, and I will actually go support them, because I agree with them.
Yes.
But don't take my right away for my community to say, we are now really fed up and tired of white people being killed by black people. It's our right to go and say that in the street. It's not racist, it's just stating facts. It's just being realistic. If the Indian community goes out and they say there's too many rapes in the Indian community. I know in South Africa we're not restricted with the rape pandemic like in India itself. But let's say, for argument's sake, they go out and they say, there's too many rapes of our women by ourselves or whoever, and we want that to stop. I will support them.
Yes.
But why can't the liberal and the black, and it's not all black, and I'm coming back to that point now. But why can't they simply let us be? It's our right, constitutional right, to go to the street and protest what we as a group in civil society feels is bothering us. It's a problem for us, and it's a very big problem. We're not speaking of a small little thing. These greenies and environmentalists running around and having protests when they cut off water here, they do something there. We're speaking of dead people, dead men, dead women, dead children. And we are not allowed to protest. That is somehow racist. That is somehow wrong. We're simply using the rights that are already ours in terms of the constitution of the country. We're not doing anything wrong. But now they want to have a backlash to that. I said I want to come back to black support for the so-called Black Monday. I spoke to quite a few of my friends yesterday. Some of them did not know the faintest anything about it. But those who knew about it was not, they ranged between being sympathetic, actually saying, we understand what you guys' problem are, to simply being complacent about it. Okay, you went to the street and you voiced your concerns. So the black people actually, and I'm not speaking of the BLFs and the EFFs and all those guys trying to score political points, but we haven't seen a huge black backlash against Black Monday. And I think there's a very good reason why. I think the average black South African in his heart actually feels exactly the same as the average white South African. Genoeg is nou genoeg.
Yeah.
So as die straat toe gaan, if the boers go to street, then we understand why they are doing it, because we actually want the same. There was a iconic picture. I didn't put it up on my Facebook or on the party's Facebook, but there was actually a taxi. You saw that picture, a taxi standing on the bridge, a black taxi, one of these minibus taxis, and it had stop motor and it had a white cross on it.
Yeah.
So that taxi driver was brave enough to actually do that. And drive around with his taxi saying, stop farm murders. It tells you a story of, and I think whites have become very despondent because it seems as if everybody is against us. But I have a feeling that the vast majority of black people out there actually understands our frustration because they are feeling exactly the same. They are just too scared inside their own communities to really come out and say, we are now hurtful. Genoeg is genoeg. We are hurtful with the Zuma regime. We are hurtful with the ANC. We are hurtful with the EFF. Just get these guys. Just get them away. We know how the liberals and the ANC and EFF have these huge mass meetings. They bus supporters in.
Yeah.
Not the local communities.
Yeah.
Like in America, they bus people, pay people to climb on a bus and get KFC and a T-shirt, and it's a very nice day. It's usually people not even working, unemployed people. It's free food and clothes and money. Why not run on the bus?
Yeah.
Why not go in the street and say I like the EFF? So we also know those things. So I think there's a huge mass underneath the whole population, white and black. I'm going to take it a little bit further just for 1 minute because we're going off our topic now. But if you look at the amount of people not voting anymore in South Africa, you realize that the average black person has become despondent about voting too. There's now more people not voting in South Africa than they are voting. So in other words, a lot of black people have also turned their back on politics. It's very interesting to see these tendencies.
I have always thought that the demographics of South Africa are actually echoed in the crime numbers, because the murder number per day is huge, but it is 80% or more black on black. Yes. So, and the unemployment numbers amongst the blacks are enormous numbers, well over 50%. It is horrifying. So they are suffering, I would say, equally, if not worse, because at least we started from a position of being employed, being educated, having a decent life. They started with nothing and have been dragged down even lower, if that's possible. So surely the anger, the bitterness, the resentment amongst those people is equal to, if not more than, amongst us.
Yes, I agree with you, Karin. I agree with you. And you see it in every day. You see it with these communities going to the streets and burning down a library. Mm-hmm. Now, for Europeans, I'm not a European, but for us Europeans, supposedly, that seems to be foreign. Why would you burn down a library? But what can these guys do differently to get the government to actually listen to them? Yes, they can vote DA, but is DA really a solution? They can vote EFF and then a big problem. So rather go down, burn and go and burn a library, and at least have the mayor then make promises and everything is peaceful again. Maybe that's a way to handle these things. But the long and the short is the average black South African today is worse off than he was 25 years ago. There's no doubt about it. The not average black South African, the big entrepreneur, the guys in civil service, because the civil service is growing by leaps and bounds. Everybody is now working for the state. Those guys are in a better position, but it's not sustainable, and it's also the entrepreneur can get rich. Okay, what is that? The people in not in South Africa won't know it. Okay, because government is so big, they can't do everything they need to do, and they put everything out on tender. And through the system of black empowerment and huge corruption behind the scenes, people are, you would buy a tap for, let's say, I know specifically of an incident in Sasolburg in the Free State. It was simply a municipal tap on an island, a traffic island that broke down. And to fix it was about 150 rand. Not a lot of money. I think it's about like $10 in US. That quote went out, that tender went out for $250,000 to fix a tap. This is one example. You know the Craner's List farm debacle, where they bought this huge dairy farm and they wanted to black empower it. They for ordinary gate that you can go and buy for a few $100 at the coöperatie in town, the coöperatie where the boere all buy their stuff. The tender went out for one gate, and it went up for 5 million rand. So somebody was paid 5 million rand for a gate to go onto a farm, not the electric gate, the one where you stop with your bucket, you climb out, you open it, you drive through. 5 million rand.
Yeah, I saw that.
A lot of black people actually benefit, but it's a very small and selected group, usually with political influence.
Yeah.
There's how entrepreneurs put my 16 hours and my 18 hours in a day, and that is why they become successful. But the vast majority of the new black diamonds live artificially out of the black empowerment system. It cannot be sustained. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But the vast majority out there, you can fly to South Africa now. I challenge anybody in outside South Africa. Fly in. Come to my house. I will climb into my own vehicle, and I will drive with you to the nearest township, and you go see how the new South Africa actually looks like.
Yeah,
it's bad.
It is. It's horrible. I mean. The old thing that I remember is Alexandra, but if you look at the latest camps, they are bigger, more sprawling, more dirty, more falling down, because they can't even afford the corrugated iron to build the houses from anymore. So for me, the situation in South Africa, yes, I concentrate on the white people, but the black people, Schalk. The black people, they're not getting educated. I mean, at least under apartheid, they got an education. Now, 30% is a pass mark. I mean, where are you going to get a job?
They are taught things that they can never use.
Yes.
The much hated Bantu education of the wood. was skills based. You were taught a skill, a vaardigheid. In other words, when you finish with school, you can weld, or you can bolt a nut, or you can be a boilermaker, or whatever.
Yeah.
You were actually a skill, and the skill can be used in the economy, and you can have that skill for the next 40 years, and it will earn you a living.
Yeah.
The current curriculum is basically academic in a country where we don't need more academics. We have a lot of clever people here sitting unemployed.
Yeah.
But we need a lot of skilled people. But they are not trained. Then you go out of school into universities. Universities teach you things that's become totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
And you have the theaters. Now the theaters it's supposedly the authorities that was supposed to transfer skills into the population. They've become so dysfunctional it simply doesn't work. So in other words, the schooling system and the university system is turning out black workers that we can't use in our factories,
Yeah. Yeah.
in our mines, on our farms. They're turning out the real life world. So we're the lucky ones. The unlucky ones are sitting in overfull classrooms with our teachers. They come to school only because they are given a little breaky, a little piece of bread and soup. That's why they come to school, not to be.
Yeah.
So this is what we are running into. We are running into now the second generation that we can't employ into our economy. And that is why they're sitting at home to the amount of 40 and 50% unemployed. We simply can't use them. You can't use them. They're sitting there, and we must now give them grants to keep them alive. That's the only way that they have a livelihood. If government gives them handouts. We can't use them in the economy. You can't redeploy them. You can't reskill them. They are lost generations, well and truly.
Yeah, and then you look at the Gigabo or Gijabo, however you pronounce his surname, that the IRS is so short of money, and we're not going to be able to sustain the country, and the SANDF cannot defend the bases, never mind the country, and the police need private security services to secure the police stations at night because they can't do it.
Stop there. I want the people outside South Africa to hear that. It's official in South Africa. It's official practice in South Africa that the police are protected by private security.
Yeah.
The army bases are protected in some instances by private security.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I mean, when I read these things, I thought it must be fake news. I honestly did. I thought I'm going to have to check up who's reporting on this because it cannot be the truth. And lo and behold, it is true. So the police can then sit in their chairs, as we see the pictures of them, sleeping at their desk all night, and we have private security come in. You know, the world won't believe this, Schalk. That is why us right-wingers are considered such tinfoil hat people, because it cannot happen that you have to get private security to defend the police. I mean, honestly. And then this week they're arresting police in the Cape for selling arms and ammunition to criminals. Wow, this is news, a big surprise to us. How long has that been going on?
Yes, Karin, because in the US you're sitting also with the whole issue of gun control and all this absolute nonsense. If you go to Finland has more guns per capita than any other country in the world. Maybe Switzerland has a few more.
Yeah.
But Finland has it's everybody own arms. Everybody they go and shoot deer. They like their hunting. They have handguns. There's more guns in Finland than there are people, but they don't have official murder stats. Nobody is murdering anybody in Finland. So it's not gun killing people. Right. In South Africa, where do most of the guns you can't have a transitu robbery with a hunting rifle.
Yeah.
The guys are going to climb out with their high-powered rifles. They're going to laugh at you like, you stupid bloody right-winger, you want to hijack us with a hunting rifle?
Yeah.
You think that's going to work? They use military arms. And where do you get military arms? From the army.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not from the shop. You can't buy them. You steal them from the army.
Yeah.
They use the 88 pistols of the South African Police Service. You can't buy them off a store. You can't. But they obviously are coming out of the Defence Force and the police.
Yes.
They are our criminals. The state is arming our criminals.
Yes. But then we had a marvelous interview last week with Alex Newman. He's a journalist here who has lived some time in South Africa and written screeds on the South African situation. And he said that the farm murderers and the criminals are armed by the government specifically for the job that they do, because you cannot have these arms and ammunition bought at the local pick and pay. You know, where do they get them from? And you can't get them from the police without police cooperation.
Look, in the first place, they steal the bloody weapons. We know that incident in the Cape where two young boys, about in the early 20s, they actually went into Simonstown naval station, naval base. They went into the naval base and then they fed themselves a little bit of ammunition and a few hand grenades. And really, that is how this thing has become. But yes, I cannot deny, or I cannot say, I don't have enough facts to say that the government is actually arming citizens. I don't know if that is so.
Yes.
I'm not saying that he's not speaking the truth. Maybe he has enough evidence before him that he can make that conclusion. The fact of the matter is, crime, the really serious crime in South Africa is not committed with arms that you can buy in a shop.
Yeah.
It's done with arms. That's where the guns are coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you deal with that? Put on a black shirt and don't walk in the street with it. That's how we started it. And now that's wrong. That's racist. You're not supposed to do that. Really?
Yes, but and we're coming up to the end of the hour, so Schalk, that thing, that Black Monday yesterday was such a heartwarming thing for white South Africans around the world, because finally they stood up, united for one cause, and proved to this ANC government and the rest of the world that we as whites do not need to burn down entire cities. We don't need to necklace people. We do not need to create chaos in the streets. We can do it quietly, clean, and with a lot of prayer, and have the same results. Because as we started out, finally, the world has turned their eyes on South Africa and is paying attention. What we need to do is to keep it up, because attention spans of people and the news media are very short. And within days, this will be forgotten. And
they will kill the story off. And I wrote a piece just before I went online with you to post on National Conservative Party. You can go and read it there, where I say we must keep up the momentum now. It's there.
Yes.
It's there. And if we're not going to utilize it, and we must not politicize farm murders in any way further on. It's human lives that we're speaking here.
Yeah.
But momentum relating to that, we must capture that and we must build on it. If we don't, then we miss a fabulous opportunity. But beyond that, I think then we betray what we've always stood for. And Karin, you and me have stood for this cause, not for months, and not for a few days, because we have all sorts of new activists the last few days.
Yeah.
We've been busy with this for decades. I've been personally involved in activism for now for it's 20 years. It's even longer. I was in school. It's only 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we're seeing the things of what we were struggling so hard for. I hope you're not hearing a lot of background noise. It's actually one of my dogs. Yeah, he's I don't know what he's carrying something around in my house, so I don't want to go and look. I hope it's not a dead person.
It sounded like, no, to me it sounded like my dogs when they beat the empty food bowl on the floor to attract your attention. That's what it sounded like. Yeah. Because my dogs do that at the most horrific times. You just hear this clang, clang, clang coming from my kitchen, and you can't stop them until you fill that bowl. But Schalk, yes, I agree with you. We need to find a way that we can capitalize on this moment and keep it going, because we have tried. Mel has been at this for I don't know how long, as have we. We need to keep this momentum going, keep the eyes of the world on South Africa, because we've worked so hard for so long to achieve this. And I'm really sorry that it took that dreadful murder to make it happen. But if we can, it's horrible to say use it correctly, but I don't know how else to say it. That man didn't die.
Exploit the context of the whole thing, because the context has been coming for many years.
Yes.
You remember back in 2010, 11, I can't remember, we started the group Boycott Naspers, being one of the big press houses in South Africa, that at that point they simply didn't report any farmers.
Yeah.
And started a Boycott Naspers action. And Karin, in I think it was 3 days or a week, we built a Facebook group of 35,000 people.
Yeah.
And all the right-wingers were going. We thought we were only 500, but there's apparently 35,000 people out there. So it came as a shock. Just as Black Monday came as a shock to me even. I was shocked to see what was going on. Shocked in a very good way.
Yeah.
Because we were despondent. It's only a few of us left. It's Karin. We can count them on the fingers of one hand. Yeah. We were actually thinking that. We were thinking, and we were becoming very depressed about it.
Yeah.
And then Black Monday happens, and 40 or 60,000 people are going to the streets protesting what we are saying. We have always been saying, this is a problem, guys. And we thought at one stage, me and you, we thought we were preaching to dead people. Nobody's listening to us. I think somebody was actually listening to us, and we just didn't realize it. So it's a positive move coming from the worst evil.
Yes.
I have this philosophy: even if the worst thing happens, sometime down the line, you will find that positivity comes out of it. And I think Black Monday was the first step into that positivity. It's the first step to something good coming out of this. I hope so. I truly hope so.
So do I, because it gave people hope again. And they were feeling hopeless, helpless, and forgotten. And it has given such a boost to the people of South Africa. I am so grateful to every single person around the world who stood up yesterday and said, "Gatvol en genoeg." And I'm right there behind you. If there's anything we can do to help keep this going, we are here. And with loud voices.
We are here.
Because it gave me hope.
Yes. And apparently with a lot of friends that we didn't know about. So let's run this thing. Karin, we're here. Mel, we're here. Yeah, let's run this thing. Thank you very much, ladies.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Schalk.
Yes. Thank you.
Now I'm going to sleep.
You probably need to.
Thank you very much. It was so nice to speaking to you again. And next time, hopefully we will speak of very positive things happening there since we did last time.
Yes,
all right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Schalk.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Karin. Thank you, Mel. Okay, signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's been a great episode of Stop South African Genocide. That was a very, very enlightening on-the-ground discussion about what's been happening with Black Monday. And we're going to sign off for tonight, only an hour long, but we'll be back next week, as always, same time, same place, myself and Karin. And it's going to be a good one, as always. So take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us. See you again.
Good night.
If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Mainstream media exists for the purposes of indoctrination and manipulation of public perception. The world of free and independent media is growing, and with the upsurge in information now available in the public domain, it has never been easier to access free and independent media. The exploration of this information resulted in an experimental project which would provide a fully supported space for researchers, whistleblowers, and seekers of all kinds to express themselves and educate the world. On the 1st of January 2015, Conscious Consumer Network was launched to the world. Nobody thought we would make it this far, but CCN is the longest running free and independent media network of its kind. CCN is a unique collaboration of hearts and souls, bringing you information from different perspectives to educate and inform. Since we started CCN, we have had only one desire: the pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world, and this has not changed. Having overcome many challenges over the last 2 years, CCN is here to stay, and we've got great things lined up for 2017. Help keep CCN on the air by supporting the 2017 Network Support Fund.